Let's say good morning once again to our co-hosts, the Admiral, Bill Stubblefield, 2-star.
And good morning to you, Rob. With all this lovely rain, life is good.
She walks for exercise. She walks on vacation. Her name is Maria Lawrence, an all-star.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Just knows now not to wear wool socks.
Yeah, and never try to keep pace with her, Rob. It's a no-winner. You cannot keep pace with a lady.
That's not true, not true.
It helps to have interesting co-hosts who have done a lot of things for when your guests don't show up.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we had a segment with Bill sailing the 7 seas earlier. That was very fascinating because you don't meet a person who sailed the 7 seas every day.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Both Arctic poles.
But I did not get my feet hurt because of wool socks on those 7 seas.
What's the coldest temperature you ever endured out on the water?
I don't know because you don't really think of that. Well, there's a warming effect of the oceans. The wind blowing over would be cold, but the oceans themselves are somewhat warmer. That's when you get the fog. I would, on land down in Antarctica, the coldest it's been was probably 30 degrees below zero. It was pretty cold.
Temperature, that wasn't wind chill.
That was not wind chill, that was temperature. But on the water itself, you had ice in. That's what you're concerned about. But you as an individual, you run inside. You grabbed a cup of coffee, you run inside. You didn't stay outside.
Our guest in this segment, Jim Oullett from the Berkeley County Public Service Water District. Jim, when I think of you, I should say when it rains, I think of you now all the time. I think we're getting rain. Jim's going to be happy.
Yes, and I seem to show up here soon after it rains, so we have a plan of action for the future if we need to generate some rainfall.
Good to have you in. How you been?
Doing pretty well. Very busy and a lot of activity going on in our community, but this is one less variable we have to worry about this summer because I was going to come in here and talk about the drought we were experiencing.
And how severe was it, Jim?
Well, Admiral, we were actually, a couple of weeks ago, we measure the rainfall every week, and we do it on a 2-year annual average, and we were down 12 inches, and it was like, oh, our spring down in Inwood was not where you want it to be this time of year. And it's only going to get worse traditionally going into the summer. So fortunately, in the last couple of weeks, our concerns have been relieved, and we are at least going to be heading into the summer season with a good groundwater supply to supplement our overall water supply.
Compared to your 2-year average, what would we be in? Because all the rain that we have fallen obviously does not get to the groundwater. Some runs, quite a bit runs off. But so how much has the groundwater been recharged?
Oh, it's amazing because we have monitoring well down there that we observe, and once the ground gets saturated to a certain level, then you get the rain on it. It really starts to pop up. So we're very pleased with the direction things are heading at the moment, and we were very concerned heading into the last 3 or 4 months because this is when you typically have a full supply, and we didn't, but things are changing, so it's all good.
Are you close to full?
We don't know yet. It usually takes 3 or 4 days after the rain comes to be able to see the resulting influence on the groundwater supply, so we'll watch it. But suffice it to say, the inventory we received in the last couple of days is substantial.
See, Rob, that's the difference between a professional like you and me. I tried to ask that question, but Jim gave me every answer except what I was looking for. You asked the question, and he gave you the fact. We don't know yet. We'll know in a couple of days.
Bill, I've said this many times. I am a trained professional. Don't try hosting your own talk show at home.
And we saw a perfect example today. While Jim was stonewalling me, he gave you the factual answer. Thanks, Jim.
Anything, Admiral?
I'm here for a reason. I don't know what that reason is, but I'm here for it.
Because you're the talent. That's why you're here.
I know how to work the board. That's honestly, that's the difference. Is I know how to use these buttons and sliders.
Okay, now you have the talent. Maria has a pretty face. What do I have? What do I bring to the table?
Wisdom.
Be careful, Maria. Be careful.
Wisdom and elocution.
Elocution.
Colin said money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Jim, let's talk about some of the reasons why impact fees are important in Berkeley County as it applies to what we need with water.
Well, it's, I know you were communicating and discussing that matter earlier today. The impact fees were reinstated, I think, in 2018 for the water and sewer after they were suspended, as Admiral was referring to earlier, for some time. And as we give a correlation between how it influences our customers.
Excuse me a second, Jeff. When you say impact fees, the water and sewer, we're talking about the capacity improvement fees. They're one and the same, but by a different label.
That is correct. Let me be more correct. It is the capacity improvement fee that we refer to. we are presently under contract $125 million worth of capital improvements. We're expanding our river plant, replacing the Bunker Hill plant. We have two new 2 million gallon water storage tanks that are being they're out to, the contracts have been let. We're expecting to start in July. All these millions and millions of dollars, a lot of it's influenced with our need to keep up with the growth that we're experiencing, which is a wonderful thing for our community as far as its economic opportunities it brings, and the enthusiasm and the opportunities and everything else associated with it. But the cost to pay for that is being borne by majority of it by the ratepayer, not necessarily by the variables that are driving the need to invest in the capital, which is growth. Mm-hmm. The old theory, growth should pay for growth, it's hard to argue with. The ones benefiting should be contributing to the cost to benefit from it. So the impact fees we've generated about $9 million over the last, since 2018, so 5-6 years now. But that's trivial relative to what we're spending to be able to keep up with the growth and provide the level of service that people desire. So when you look at it, you have to say, is it the right fee? And I think, Rob, you were referring to earlier some places you lived. Frederick, Maryland, and Frederick, Virginia, just built a brand new water plant based upon only impact fees. Didn't have to borrow a cent. And it's because they charge like $17,000 for every house. Well, we charge $3,200. It's going to go to $3,700 on June 1st. And relative to the cost to provide water service, it's a trivial amount. Mm-hmm. And that's our challenge. Okay, what do you want to do? Well, the rates are going up. We'll talk about that today. They're going up significantly on June 1st. And it's all to pay for all this capital relative to what we need to be able to provide service.
Water rates are going up.
Water rates are going up.
What will be the increase?
Well, they're going up 23.5% across the board. And so this is the biggest one. And we put a rate increase proposal together 5 years ago, and the first step went into effect in 2023. And we have two more after this one. It's a 5-year, because we knew we had to borrow all this money to pay for all this capital. And so it's been a long plan. So this is the third step in a 5-step process. And it'll be going up, as I say, 23.5%.
That's substantial.
It is substantial, and I think it's.
But the capacity improvement fee will go up only $400.
Yeah, about $400 or $500. Yeah. To let you know, the average customer, and we define average as someone who uses 3,400 gallons a month, is going to go from $37.90 to $46.70 a month. So it's an increase of $8.80 a month for the average customer.
Okay.
And again, just for clarification, the impact fees the county is talking about, you'll not get a single dime of that, because none of that's going to go other areas, but the water and sewer will not get any part of the county imposed impact fees.
No, they're two different
things altogether. Exactly.
Yes,
and the impact fees that you pay on water, are those paid only by those buying a new home or anybody who buys a house?
It's only affiliated with the construction of a new structure.
And that includes a commercial building?
Correct.
So everybody pays it if you're building in Berkeley County?
That is correct. If you're tying onto the water system.
Correct. If you're on a well, this does not apply.
That is correct.
All right, very good. Are there any other cost increases people should be aware of, Jim, that are coming?
Not with regards to the water. That's we only sell water in volumetric rates, so that's the increase we're going to expect on June 1st. But as I say, we also have it already scheduled to go up again next June and then the June after, but much more small percentage, like 7%, 5%.
So that'd be about $2-3 a month on the bill.
Yeah, it'd be less significant.
Before we leave that, talking about the availability and a little bit of history, back in the early part of this century, we were within a few days of running out of water. Our water supply was not capable of keeping up with the needs. Thanks to you and thanks to the water board, you have taken very significant steps to ensure that we have enough water available. Explain to us, Jim, where we are now with the availability of water, i.e. the Potomac River, wells, or the like.
Well, there's two variables there, Admiral. As we speak, we have a very thin margin of surplus because the growth has taken a tremendous amount of capacity through the last 20 years, but yet the supply, the capacity of our ability to treat the water and distribute has not kept up. Now, as we speak, we are in the process of expanding the river plant from 6 million gallons a day capacity to 10 million gallons a day capacity. Now, that's a significant increase. Now, we still have to get the water from the river plant and distribute it and have it available out in the distribution system, hence the reason for all these other capital activities we have underway. Now, this is the most important thing for our community, and Maria's probably heard me say this before at the Rotary and other things. We have the Potomac River, and that is a very healthy supply of water. It's not always the best quality water, but nevertheless, it's water. You can't create what doesn't exist, and we have the water. God presents it to us as it passes through our community. We have to have the ability to grab it, treat it, and distribute it. There's the challenge. But if you didn't have it, you could never keep growing. This community can keep growing because we do have a substantial supply of water, all other variables being understood that you can produce the plants, the pipes, and the pumps. We got the water. And there's a lot of land around here. So if you have water, you have sewer, you have land, growth is kind of unlimited, I guess. Well, no, it has an opportunity to grow. We have to be prepared to be in a position, if that's what this community wants, to be able to support that. And that's the reason why the Water District has invested so much effort and desire to put capital in place so that if the community wants to continue to grow, it can. Coming back to the capacity improvement fees, though, it's who's going to pay for it, and how is that going to be allocated?
And you have talked on this program several times, Jim, about some of the big users. So not mom and dad and the two kids who buy the 3-bedroom home, but the P&Gs and the Cloroxes and
CMC soon.
And CMC soon. Do we need to take a closer look at the, at the business community that's coming in regards to the amount of water resources they consume?
I guess that's a political decision as to where, if we have limited resources, where do we allocate them? Mm-hmm. And who's going to make that decision? Every 1,000 houses we add to our system requires another 150,000 gallons a day of production capacity. And that's in perpetuity. Once they're here, it's required to keep going. So it's interesting because over time, all of a sudden that number starts to become 1 million after 7 years or so. And it never stops. And so, yeah, you get a big user on occasion. We have CMC is going to be a very interesting variable.
Yeah.
They have suggested to us they're going to need 600,000 gallons a day. Okay.
What do we currently pull out of the Potomac?
We're averaging on the Potomac just a little over 6 million gallons a day.
So about 10%.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
and that's, we're expanding the size of that plant. It can't happen soon enough. It's scheduled to be completed in the fall of 2026, so we're hoping that their water use doesn't ramp up too quickly, and we're in a position to supply it once the plant has been expanded to its new capacity.
CMC, refresh everybody what we mean by CMC, the acronym.
That's Commercial Metals Corporation.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to be up in the DuPont area.
Yeah, it's right next to our treatment plant, which is wonderful. But
now,
it's big.
Why do they need fresh water? Why can they not use a recycled water? Isn't it for coolant?
It is. That question has been bantered about. At this moment, they have chosen to utilize our water. There is discussions that potentially they could use the water from the nearby wastewater plant, and we all think that's a great idea. I think it's a logical and economical opportunity. It's not too expensive, but they're the ones who have to make that decision. Ultimately, we'll see what happens once they get up and running.
But you have the decision to make whether or not you'll supply them the water.
Yeah,
You have the ultimate decision on that, do you not, Jim?
Well, at this point, that decision has been rendered, and we will.
Rendered by who?
Well, we've agreed to supply them with
Okay.
the water, and when the community had wanted to attract them to come here for the economic value it brings, we try to do everything we could to provide a solution for their water needs.
Okay.
So ultimately, when you agree to provide water, are you going in conjunction with the county commission to reach an agreement like that, or do you have the authority on your own? Do you have a board that helps come to that agreement, or what?
Yes, we are an independent entity with regards to decision making from the county. Obviously, we work closely with them and want to support them, and vice versa. But it was decided as a group that we would do whatever we can to try to, and hence the reason we started all these capital projects 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, in a desirable world, you'd be much further along, but when you start borrowing money from the federal government and all the other regulations involved, it delays it and delays it and delays it. And here we are today. The good news is it's under construction. We're already into it for about 9 months. Things are coming along well, so we are on a known timeline when we're going to be completed. Like I say, again, it can't happen soon enough.
Were any of those costs reduced by a grant of some sort, or state funding or federal funding, Jim?
We did. We ended up getting $18 million for the construction of the river plant. But like I say, it takes time. Those things delay things very much. We also got some funds for our Bunker Hill replacement. And that's coming along too, but that's not going to add any more water to our ultimate supply at this time because we're just rebuilding a plant.
How vulnerable is the Bunker Hill source?
Well, Admiral, that is the groundwater supply, and that's why groundwater supplies are always subjective to rainfall and precipitation and over time, whereas the river, as long as Dam 4 stays in place, there'll always be water available. And that's why that really is, as I said earlier, the future of our community is a supply of water that we know will always be there.
Yeah, Bunker Hill again. How vulnerable is it to a spill along 81?
I don't know. I mean, anything can happen in the world. I mean, somebody could drive by. Anything can happen anywhere. I mean, the one thing about depending on a river for water supply, that's also susceptible to everything. I mean, look, was it Allegheny County yesterday up in
Yeah.
all that water's coming down here, and every time it rains substantially, all the farm fields and everything, the water obviously brings
Gotta go somewhere.
turbidity into it, and it ends up the river can be very clean one day, and 3 days later, it's very discolored. Fortunately, we have a treatment technology in place that can accommodate those fluctuations in raw water quality to be able to produce a product that nobody knows the difference what it started like. The finished product is acceptable, and it does a nice job for our community, but it's not most desirable. You'd love to have a pristine mountain lake that's your supply of water, which is the same every day, but
With sheep.
Not the sheep runoff, though, Bill. Jim Oullett, our guest here from the Berkeley County Public Service Water District. Maria, did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to comment. So you've been talking about the water, the river, and how it provides, an important resource. Is our water safe? It's not as pristine as the mountain lake, obviously, but should Berkeley County residents feel comfortable and confident that they are drinking safe water
On a regular basis.
on a regular basis?
oh, absolutely. I would encourage people to drink a lot more water and eat a lot less food. I think we'd all be better off for it. Obviously, people don't always understand that public water supplies are probably the most regulated activity in the world. We have to take over 80 bacteriological samples every month. We take all kinds of other exotic chemical tests for our water to make sure it's in compliance with federal standards. It always is. It's comes out of it. It's crystal clear once we're done with everything. A lot of folks don't like chlorine because they can actually smell it. But as I always share whenever I can, chlorine is the greatest element known to mankind when it comes to extended longevity of human life. Without it, we had an average life expectancy of 48 when we started to add chlorine to our water supply, and now it's, 75 or so?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were dying of infectious disease prior to the introduction of chlorine into our water supply, and it's forever changed our ability to stay alive.
Use the magic word forever. It's cyclical, so every few years the forever metals get a lot of visibility. Then they fall and they're not mentioned very often. Do you treat your water for these forever metals?
Chemicals, you mean?
Chemicals, forever chemicals, sorry. Or are they such a low concentration that you don't worry about it?
You're referring to the PFAS regulations, which have become influential in our world over the last decade. We have not had them at any levels in our water supplies, and we have to test for it, so we do. We measure those things in parts per trillion now. I think I asked y'all before what 1 part per trillion might be equal to. Did you remember, Rob?
It was like 1 inch from here to the moon or something like that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Actually, quite a few moons. It's 1 inch and 16 million miles.
Yeah.
So you say to yourself, okay, how much money are we going to spend to treat a water supply when other day-to-day activities are so much more inherently risky than worrying about that? But we do. And if it shows up, you have to incur the cost to treat for it. And if it does, we will. But right now, our community doesn't have that concern.
You talked about the safety of our drinking water. Just anecdotally, when I go to the grocery store or what have you, and you see people, or to Costco, people, putting in, hundreds of bottles of water in their cart to drink ostensibly. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe you're on a well and you're not all that confident, but the bottled water phenomenon has just sort of exploded, I think. Don't you think?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And you say to yourself, well, what makes a phenomenon occur? And usually it's a lot of people saying things are not acceptable with your public water supply, which is not true, but yet follow the money. And I'm sure there's a lot of people making a lot of money telling other people they shouldn't be drinking public water. And so people buy it after years of hearing it, and they waste a lot of money that they could use for other things by buying bottled water and lugging that heavy water all the way home. Here we are. We deliver it under pressure. We deliver 60 million pounds of water a day.
Unappreciated.
Unappreciated. Right into your house.
Not to mention the plastic and all the stuff that's, that are the side effects of the millions of bottles of water that you're.
I think Maria's looking
buying.
for a job in your marketing department.
That's right. There you go.
We're going to create one too. That's
right?
doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, 2 minutes left. Is there anything you wanted to cover that we did not?
No, just that there's a tremendous amount of capital activity going on because the community is growing, and the district has been very proactive in trying to stay ahead of it. There are more people all of a sudden interested in developing in this community. We've gotten so many inquiries lately. We had our first person come to us with a proposed subdivision of over 1,000 units.
Oh my goodness!
So we hit the 1,000 unit number. That kind of struck in my mind a little bit. Okay, now we're getting really big, and that's the variable. We have a tremendous amount of land around here. We have no zoning, as we all know, so we have no idea
1,000
what's
units.
coming.
Yeah,
and that's just one. There's numerous more.
Well, if
people
those impact fees get passed, implemented in time, that'll certainly build up the treasury.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's important that if this community truly wishes to see growth paid for growth, there's an opportunity, and trust me, people will still keep moving here because, like everything in life, it's not what you have, it's what are your alternatives. Mm-hmm. And this is a desirable alternative for so many people.
And still, even with the fees, would still be more affordable than the surrounding counties in
You're
Maryland
absolutely
and
right,
Virginia.
Rob.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for coming in. Always great to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.